It started with a text that felt like a punch to the gut. "We need to talk in my office. Now." It was from my boss. I knew that tone. It wasn't casual. Not even close. My stomach sank as I walked down the quiet hallway. My promotion had been promised months ago. I had worked late nights, covered shifts, solved crises no one noticed. I thought I had earned it. I knocked. "Come in," he said, barely looking up from his paperwork. Then he said it. "Congratulations. You're not getting the promotion. I've decided to give it to my stepdaughter." I froze. My stepdaughter? The woman who had just joined the company 6 months ago? Who spent more time on social media than learning her job? I don't understand," I stammered. He leaned back, folding his hands. "It's family. You should understand. You don't want to make waves, do you?" A threat thinly veiled as advice. I left the office numb. That day, everything in the office seemed different. Meetings felt sharper, conversations colder. Emails from my boss became curt commands instead of guidance. My stepdaughter smiled at me in a way that made my skin crawl, too knowing, too smug. I told myself I was imagining it. But the signs kept coming. Files would disappear from my desk. I'd be blamed for missed deadlines I didn't know existed. Invitations to important strategy meetings started slipping through the cracks. Always for reasons I couldn't understand. And whenever I questioned anything, he would corner me with a reminder. "Remember, your job isn't guaranteed." First, I doubted myself. Was I missing something? Was I really not performing well? I replayed every interaction, every mistake, and convinced myself maybe I deserved this. But deep down I knew it wasn't about performance. The breaking point came one Thursday afternoon. I was late submitting a quarterly report, not because I hadn't done the work, but because my stepdaughter had forgotten to forward me critical data. I sent a polite reminder, but the next day my boss called me into the office again. "This kind of oversight isn't acceptable," he said. "I can't have someone unreliable in this position. Step up or..." His voice trailed off, but the threat was clear. I felt trapped, angry, humiliated. I kept replaying memories of the past 2 years. Every time I stayed late to fix a problem, every weekend I sacrificed to meet deadlines, every moment I tried to prove my loyalty. All of it felt meaningless now. I started watching her interactions closely, quietly at first. I noticed the subtle signs, her phone calls behind closed doors, the quiet laughter she'd try to hide, the way my boss seemed softer around her. He'd overlook mistakes she made in ways I knew he wouldn't overlook mine. One day, I stumbled across a folder on the office shared drive. It was labeled with both their names, her stepdaughter and my boss. My heart raced as I opened it. Inside were performance notes that never existed, glowing reviews for her that were clearly fabricated, and even personal reminders from my boss. Praise her. Handle carefully. I couldn't breathe. The betrayal wasn't just nepotism. It was manipulation, favoritism, and deception, all carefully hidden. I confronted him the next morning, trying to stay calm. "Why her? Why not me?" I asked, my voice steady but my hands shaking. He sighed, as if disappointed I didn't already understand. "She's family. It's not personal." I stared at him. "Everything you've said, everything you've done for me. Was that all just for show?" He didn't answer. His silence said more than any excuse could. The office became unbearable. Every day, I felt my dignity slipping, my contributions dismissed. I started documenting everything. Emails, directives, altered reports, anything that could prove the truth if I ever had to defend myself. And then the stepdaughter approached me one evening, alone in the break room. "I know you know," she whispered. I froze. "You don't have to say anything," she continued. "But he's protective of me. He's not fair. He never was." For the first time, someone acknowledged what I'd known all along. I left work early that day, feeling drained, exhausted, and most painfully betrayed. Not just by my boss, but by the system I trusted, by the work I'd poured myself into, by the belief that loyalty and talent would be enough. I spent nights pacing my apartment, replaying every conversation, every nod, every good job I'd been given. Was it fake too? Was anything real? Eventually, I made a decision. I couldn't stay. Not in that environment, not under that kind of threat. I started quietly applying for other positions, reaching out to contacts I'd built over the years, and even though the idea of leaving terrified me, I knew I couldn't let my self-worth be dictated by someone else's family ties. The day I resigned, I handed in my letter and walked out. He called after me, his tone sharper than usual. "You think you're leaving clean? Don't think this won't follow you." I smiled quietly, almost sadly. "I'm leaving clean. And I'm leaving stronger." Walking out that door was one of the hardest things I've ever done. But it was also the first time in months I felt like myself again. I felt free not just from him but from the manipulation, the fear, the betrayal. Weeks later I landed a new role. Smaller company, yes, but fair. Transparent. Appreciative. I started rebuilding not just my career but my trust in myself. The humiliation faded slowly, replaced by confidence, by a sense of self-respect I hadn't realized I'd lost. I still think about him sometimes, about her, about how easily loyalty can be exploited. But I've learned something that no promotion, no title could teach me. Respect cannot be demanded. It must be earned. And when it isn't, the only mature choice is to walk away.